So we'll just ask you some questions. And
Sure.
Pretty
Okay.
calm, nice. So can you start off by just saying your names and then who you're here representing?
Okay. I'm Antoinette
I'm Nicholas.
Sacco Sadlowski, and I am the niece of Private Joseph Sacco Jr.
He was my great uncle.
Sure. And can you tell the story, just everything that you know about him? Maybe if you know about what he was doing here in Pont Scorff, just what kind of stories do you know about him?
Okay. I guess my grandparents told me that he loved to box. He was like to be a boxer, and he was a great kidder. Loved to tease. A cousin spoke to me the other day and told me how much she didn't like him because he teased. And I thought, oh, wow. Generations later, we had an Uncle Pat who used to tease Danielle, and she didn't like him either. But everybody grew up and realized how much fun our uncles were. I never got to meet him. I always knew that he died here, but I thought he died in a tank. Now, I don't know if that is true. I haven't found out if he actually was in a tank. He was a bodyguard, so he earned the respect of his commander to be his bodyguard here in.
But he wasn't a tank. He was a tank driver.
I don't know. He was in the tank division. What he drove or was in the back? We don't know. We don't know that information about him. There was nothing ever said. I know that when my grandfather, from my relatives, that when my grandfather received the letter that there was a death, he waited for the entire family to come, and then he read the letter in front of everybody. My grandmother had 4 sons who were in the service at the same time. 3 were in the Army, and my father was in the Navy. So I don't know if they knew at the time which one actually had passed away. They were very upset. I know from another cousin, she remembers when the family was able to have the body brought back. So I learned today that the men who died that particular 3-day siege were here till 1945. So they were here for a whole year. And I don't know exactly when he was brought back. But the cemetery that he was buried in is called Woodlawn in the Bronx. And when he was, God bless you, when he was interned, it wasn't considered a Catholic ceremony, and a priest could not come and bless the grounds. That really upset my grandmother. I remember she almost wanted to go to different churches. And when she died in '84, the cemetery had become a place that was also for Catholics. And the priest came and buried her at the grave. And then we as a family said, you have got to go up and consecrate this ground for our 2 uncles. And I was 18, so it was vivid. When I remember we kept thinking, oh my gosh, she must be so happy now. So what I found out that he had a girlfriend named Virginia. We have pictures of her and my aunts together. And we have a letter that a military personnel who was with them wrote to her and gave her a little bit of information of how he died, and that he had, like everybody else, received communion and gone to Mass the day before. He had general absolution, and he died instantly. So he was in that big group on the 7th that passed away. So we don't know anything. I don't know anything more about him, but just that his memory always stayed with us. My dad always called him Jojo for some reason, never called him Joe. And he would always sign the letters, "Love Joe the Wolf." So the letters that he wrote to my mother and father, that's how we would sign it. And during the war, the brothers were able to correspond with each other. So we have letters that he wrote to his sisters, or my mother, or my father. So we have those memories, which is nice.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
And for you two personally, how has this changed the way that you see the world, or even just how this whole ceremony and event has been for you? Like, how has that affected you personally?
Oh, I'm absolutely overwhelmed by. I knew that when I was first told about what was going on and the ceremony and everything, I was like, wow, that people like remember this. You know, this is 78 years after the fact, and that this was being planned. That you know, this is an idea of somebody who thought enough to create all this, and that right there is it's incredibly moving. And then when we were coming over, you know, I thought, you know, I saw some of the pictures of the monument that was being built, and I thought maybe it'd be a small ceremony. I didn't realize that there was a whole itinerary, and all of this that we've seen today, the reenactors that are here, the members of the consular, the legion that have come, and this is incredible. I've always, you know, growing up, my grandparents used to come out a lot, and we used to watch. There was a station, Channel 11 had this. They had the Sunday and Saturday afternoon matinees, which is a TV program, and they showed a lot of the old black and white war movies with John Wayne and Henry Fonda. And I'll never forget that my fascination with this started with I saw The Longest Day, which is very popular here. It's that great old movie, all those old actors in it, and I became fascinated with the D-Day, the Normandy invasions, and reading all about it, and then Grandpa had, you know, as I got older, realizing and asking, like, talking to Grandpa about it and what he saw and what he experienced. And he always talked, when he talked about Uncle Jojo, yeah, it was like, you know, he had Uncle Jojo and he died in the tank, but he didn't really say too much more about it. And now that this has all happened, and we have a cousin Jean who has, like I said, all of the letters, and now we're learning so much more about it, and it's you know, reading the letters is fantastic, and you see the correspondence and the emotion in the letters and stuff like that. There's so much to be said about those letters, and now to come here and now see this, and like now we you know, to see where he was buried, to have this memorial is just it's incredible. It's been an incredible day. I can't believe it, and just the generosity of the people here of France. And how much they appreciate it. It's just, yeah, this is fantastic. I'm absolutely overwhelmed. I had no idea that this whole thing, this was going to be like this. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, it is. It was when I first heard about it, I said, oh, I want to go. And then my cousin Jean said she wanted to go, and we thought, well, the two of us will come together, you know. And then unfortunately circumstances changed, and I just found out in May that Nicholas had off this week. He was able to get the week off.
Yeah, I had to fight to get this week off.
Yeah, and I kept saying, tell them why you're doing it. You know, this is not like, oh, we're just going to go swimming in the, you know, the river or something like that. This is something very special for us. So I feel very honored and privileged that I could represent my family, you know, to do that.
Well, you know, for us in American Legion, we know the Sacco family because that was one of the files that we got back from Washington. So my question is, what kind of message do you have for people today to make his life matter? That his sacrifice was not in vain.
To be more, I guess, more welcoming to people. You know, we were isolated in Long Valley. My kids growing up, they called it Happy Valley. It's an isolated white neighborhood. I think the world is so much bigger than that, and you have to learn to get along with a lot of different kinds of people, and you have to be nice to people, because if you're nice to them, you know, in return, people will be nice to you. And how you raise your children, hopefully, I could see it evident, you know, how I've raised my kids from this. So I just wish that there was more harmony in the world. Then we wouldn't be having the wars, and we wouldn't having, you know, dictators in the world trying to change. You know, we had history. Don't repeat itself and have another war just to prove yourself better than anybody else. We're all the same.
As far as our
can you both just take like a little step this way? Okay, sorry.
As far as
it's fine. It's just like
we're getting out of
making sure you're not like drifting off. Cool.
as far as our American values that they fought for, because a soldier, he pledges an oath to the Constitution, not to the president, but to the Constitution and to the flag. What do you think about their values and that they represented and that they fought for, as far as what's happening today, and make what they fought for, their values matter?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the greatest honor to serve your country. You know, you're right. You take an oath and you go to wherever you're told without question, and you go with our values and standards. You know, this is we're here. And I think that, like I said, that you know, the people that who died in service have given the ultimate sacrifice, and they just should not be forgotten. And there should be more memorials like this, and the people who their descendants should know what they did. And I think it's very important. And then they have a more of appreciation, not just say, oh, you had somebody who died in the war, and so what? Well, now you know, like when things like this are done, and then the families are contacted and now become directly involved, you now more have an understanding. And I'm trying to vision as I'm here what this place looked like when he came here. What did he see? Who did he correspond with? Because we have other relatives who also landed on Normandy Beach. And I remember we have our cousin Laura, who's with us. Her father landed on Omaha Beach. And I was there on June 7th, and I'm standing on the beach. He stood on it. Like, he came here, he stood here. And tomorrow we're going to go to Utah Beach, where my Uncle Joe, he came somewhere on that beach, he stood. And here I am, a relative of that, 78 years later. Now I'm going to be standing on that beach. And to me, that's a moment. And I think that all the families that had people that served, no matter what war that they served in, if they knew all that, they might have a bigger appreciation of that. I think a lot of people don't appreciate that, and all that America does for the world. And yeah, that's what I think.
I think a lot of people joined the war, especially World War II, when the United States when we were bombed, and it was our country that was personally attacked. Before that, it's over there. But because we were personally attacked in Hawaii, I think the patriotism just swelled, and you had so many men going out and volunteering, and the women then working in the factories because the men weren't there. And then, unfortunately, you know, when we had 9/11, that patriotism came back. It's not there yet. It's not there now. You don't see all the American flags like we did first. You'd hate to have something tragic happen to bring us back as a nation. So we're divided in a lot of ways.
And I think you already answered this in a way, but if you had something that you could say to the people of America, the youth of America, about what you've experienced here, you know, as you said, walking in the footsteps, following your ancestors, what would you say to them? What would you say to the people back home?
Take an interest in your family history and what you might discover about them, whether it be an incredible event as World War II, or maybe you find that they did something else that was incredible in the country or somewhere else. Maybe they invented something you didn't know about. That's the fascinating part. For example, you found out you were a relative to someone who, I don't know, had a part in, I don't know, creating like a machine or something. And I mean, that stuff is fascinating. I'm like, wow, I'm related to this person. So I think that, yeah, for the youth of today, like I said, is just embrace your history and just, I found it fascinating. And my mom is with the Ancestry.com, has found so much about not only this event, but our whole entire family history. She's shown me pictures of an Ellis Island, of the registry of our family name and stuff like that. That's like, wow. And yeah, to see that is absolutely incredible. So that's what I would say to today's youth is do research. Where did your family come from? Ask questions about your relatives, your aunts, your uncles, your grandparents, you know, while they're with us, and find out and learn from them.
And what kind of message would you have for the veterans from the American Legion, or any veterans in particular, whether it be Iraq, Afghanistan, Vietnam?
Thank you.
Thank you for your wonderful service.
Really. because without them, we would not have the freedoms that we have today.
Yes, freedom isn't free. We know what you do. We know you put yourselves in danger for our well-being. You volunteer to die for us. I mean, that's the ultimate service. And thank you for everything you've done, and for the members of the Legion that have helped with this today's event. I'm absolutely overwhelmed, and thank you for what you've done and contacting, finding out all this stuff and finding us, and you're the reason we're here today. Thank you.
Well, thank you for coming.
Oh.
Yes.
I think that's good.
Okay.
So, thank you guys so much.
Oh,
you're
It was
welcome.
wonderful to hear from you.
Yeah.